Hello, and welcome to Afternoon Tea with Karen and Fun with Documents. Labor's Intergenerational Planners, Part 3, Foundations for Tomorrow, 3 of 3, Data Collection and Future Generations Policy. So, leading off from parts 1 and 2, the Awareness to Action consultation is the Foundations for Tomorrow's flagship project. So, I'll have a look at that. And the Australians' Future Generations Policy Brief. It drew more than 10,000 responses from young Australians to share a youth led proposal for a more and just, equitable, and sustainable future. So, full report is 82 pages long. So, we'll just quickly go to the table of contents and fast forward to page 14. Background and objectives. The Global Shapers Community, an initiative of the World Economic Forum, is a network of over 13,000 young people from across 150 countries. Each Global Shapers hub generates ideas and solutions that address local, regional, and global challenges through community engagement and collaboration with stakeholders. In Australia, the organisation's mission is to amplify the voices of young Australians amongst government and business leaders to support the design of a more just, equitable, and sustainable future for Australia. Methodology. In 2021, the report draws together 10,000 voices, 5,743 young Australians under the age of 30 completed a comprehensive survey, the sentiment from which was echoed by 5,222 responses to social media polling targeted at young Australians. This report also includes the voices of 22 prominent leaders from across Australia's government, business, and community sectors. Data set to include the 5,222 responses to social media polling across platforms, which included Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook, which was targeted young Australians. And this report also features insights from the 22 responding leaders on page 82. So, their team responding leaders: Abdullah Alim, founder and head of strategy, the Davos Lab World Economic Forum. The Honourable Andrew Lee, MP, Deputy Chair of Standing Committee on Economics. Deanne Stewart, CEO of Aware Super. They play a pretty significant role in this. Dr. Katie Allen, MP. The Honourable Angus Taylor, MP, Minister for Energy and Emissions Reduction. Senator Sarah Hanson Young, Senator for South Australia. And in regards to their questions, their multiple choice. What do you think would improve the conditions of ESG environment, social, and governance standards into design, development, and reporting of private organisations? So, stronger financial incentives was the most responded to, but one of the questions in there was integrating ESG metrics into business and school education. What would enable you to place more trust in Australian industry and government leaders? Only 9% said young people represented in politics, 4% engagement of young people in politics. I think if they asked now, you'd get a lot more though, because Pauline Hanson cartoons and, well, she's pretty popular amongst the young people. Anyway, this is the stuff they decided after all that young people want action on climate change, individual well-being, security, and creating an equitable and inclusive society. Current leaders are falling short of expectations. Actions, stability, and transparency. What young Australians are asking for is not radical. Young Australians are looking for 6 principles for future leadership. And that ties in with the study that Think Forward did with 200 people. Now, the Future Generations Policy Brief, according to a recent survey, led by Evergen. And quick reminder of the Coalition for Intergenerational Fairness, Evergen's the next one on the list. So I'll find out about their data in the next video. So download the policy brief, which is 68 pages long. So straight to the table of contents, executive summary. The brief proposes the following foundational recommendations to embed and protect long-term thinking into Australian governance framework. Legislate a Wellbeing for the Future Generations Act in the Federal Parliament. Establish an independent statutory commissioner for future generations. That's in the other videos. Mandate the launch of a national conversation on future generations and ongoing public engagement led by the Commissioner. Policies grounded in intergenerational fairness focus on responsible resource and fiscal management and strategies, as well as balancing immediate needs with the goal of maintaining a stable and prosperous future. Countries around the world are already taking action, a growing number of countries recognizing the urgent need to consider long-term consequence of today's decisions are implementing initiatives to protect the interests of future generations. Efforts in progress, judicial rulings, international campaign driving progress. Most recently, the School of International Futures released their implementation handbook for the UN Declaration on Future Generations. More recently, the Maastricht Principles on the Human Rights of the Future Generations was adopted by the United Nations Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, which recognizes that stuff. And UN. Articles of note within the UN Declaration of Future Generations on, undertaking a whole of government approach to coordination, including at the national and local levels, on assessment, development, implementation, and evaluation of policies that safeguard the needs and interests of future generations. Foundational recommendations, legislate a Wellbeing of Future Generations Act in Federal Parliament, establish a statutory commissioner for future generations. The commissioner should be appointed by the federal government of the day for a single 7-year term, with the nominated candidate subject to review by a statutory parliamentary committee. The role of the commissioner would be to mandate to safeguard the rights and interests of future generations in policy making processes. Their potential scope, advisory, strategic guidance, review and assessment, desired role responsibilities, and power. Awareness and capacity building powers. Collaboration and coordination. Powers. Proposed scope of powers to effectively fulfill these responsibilities, the Commissioner may exercise the following powers: provide advice and recommendations on long term and intergenerational impacts to government, agency, and policymakers, authority to develop and implement educational campaigns, training programs, and initiatives to promote future literacy and foresight in policymaking. Some terminology. 3. Mandate the launch of a national conversation on future generations on ongoing public engagement. Work closely with First Nations leaders and communities throughout and beyond the national conversation to develop culturally appropriate engagement strategies that respect traditional decision making processes and knowledge systems. In conclusion, the momentum from the 2024 UN Summit for the Future and the upcoming 2025 federal election present a critical opportunity. The summit has set the stage for global commitments to future generations, and the election offers a pivotal moment for policymakers to champion these values domestically. And additional contributors. And in my next video, I'm going to check out Evergen, who did the survey that the policy was based on. And that was incredibly boring. However, the Honourable Angus Taylor MP, Minister for Energy and Emissions Reduction, wasn't expecting that one. Who says Labor and Liberal are a uni party? Anyway, that'll do. See you later. Bye.